What's up, future respiratory therapist? In this video, let's go way back to the beginning when you learned all about patient assessment. This video is all about percussion. Let's dive in. All right, so as I said, all about percussion in this video. Before we do that, do me a favor, head over to Respiratory Coach Academy, where you will find the TMC as well as the CSE boot camps there to aid you for the rest of this year, 2026, before it changes to the RTE, all right there at Respiratory Coach Academy. Also, you'll find the newly launched ACCS boot camp there to aid and assist you in obtaining that advanced credential for you experienced respiratory therapists. Now, here's an image that doesn't make a whole lot of sense at first, but when we think about percussion, what we have to understand is that we're talking about the art of tapping on a surface to evaluate its underlying material or density or the lack of density. Okay, so that's what we're doing. You tap, and depending on what you hear, the sound that you hear is an indication of what lies beneath that surface. Now, the easiest analogy I can give you for this is if you have something that you want to hang onto a wall, then especially if it's something heavy, then you're gonna need to find a stud behind the sheetrock of your wall. Well, you can't see the studs, and so one technique you can do is you can tap on the wall. And what you'll notice when you're tapping on that wall is that there will be periods in that wall that sound very hollow. There will be other times when you tap over a stud where you're going to get more of a dull note. Okay, so that's your indication. You're tapping on the wall, and yes, there's the equipment like stud finders, and there's 1,000 different ways to do this. I'm just giving you an example here of what percussion is, so we can have an image when we talk about it in regards to respiratory therapy. Okay, so what I'm saying here is that as you're tapping and it sounds hollow, when you come to a stud, it will change notes and you will hear it. And you go, oh, there's something behind the wall right there. And indeed it is. It's a tubophore. It's a stud, okay? And so that's what percussion is. Now let's make it make sense to us as respiratory therapists. You see, anytime the alveolar units become filled with fluid, or they become consolidated, like with pneumonia, or when they lose volume, such as with atelectasis, that's gonna lead us to a state of increased density. And that's gonna give us a flat or a dull percussion note. Now that's how it can be described. The actual term you're looking for here is hypo-resonance. Now the opposite is true too. When you're tapping and you hear a very hollow, or sometimes referred to as a tympanic note, that is referred to as hyper-resonance. And that's gonna be due to a loss of density, or let's just say loss of density, let's just say more air, okay? Now, you don't have to believe me on this. We can go to Egan's 13th edition right here, chapter 16, way early in the book, page 329. This is a 2,000, I don't know how many pages are in this book. Let's just see real fast. Almost 1,400 pages in this book, and in the first 329 pages, we talk about percussion. This is a basic concept that you got to understand. Specifically, as you prepare for your clinical simulation exam, you will see this on the detailed content outline, and you have to understand when you say, tell me about the percussion, you're going to have to be able to interpret what those findings tell you about that patient. Okay, so let's go here, page 329. There's a rule of thumb right here. It says, percussing the chest can produce two abnormal resonant sounds related to an imbalance between gas and tissue fluid in the chest cavity. Dull resonance is produced by the muffling effects of increased tissue density, such as atelectasis or consolidation or fluid collection in the pleural space, aka pleural effusion, hemothorax, okay? And then it goes on and says, whereas a hyper-resonant note is produced by lung hyperinflation. What are we thinking now? COPD, asthma. Disease processes that cause air trapping will yield a hyper-resonant note. It also says, or gas trapped in the pleural space, aka pneumothorax. And so you just have to break it down like that. All of your air diseases will yield a hyper-resonant note. I actually like to say hyper, because it helps me remember air. Air produces a hyper-resonant note, which is going to be hollow or tympanic sounding in nature. Anything that causes an increase in density, fluid, consolidation, atelectasis, pleural effusion, all of those things are going to yield a hypo-resonant note, and that's going to be a completely different sound, more flat and or dull sounding. Okay, now let's take a look here at a couple of x-rays here, okay? So we're still talking about percussion. And I really like to tie x-rays back in to learning some of these concepts because it gives you a visual. Now we know when we look at an x-ray that anywhere there are increased areas of opaqueness or more white, then that is an increase in density. And so when we look up here, let me get my marker here. When we look on this side right here, what we find is that we can see an increased area of opacity right there. So this looks like either a right middle to upper lobe pneumonia, and we see more denseness there than we do on all of the patient's left side, and even compared to this region down here. This is more dense. This is going to yield a hypo-resonant note, flat or dull. Why? Increased density. Now, when we look at this one over here, what we find is that we see there's more density around what we refer to as pulmonary vascular congestion, okay? This is associated with cardiogenic pulmonary edema, probably due to congestive heart failure. And what we see is when we look at these areas of density, we could draw a line around that right there, okay? When we were to percuss over that area, again, because of the increase in density, we would get a hypo-resonant note, okay? The difference between this hypo-resonant note and this hypo-resonant note is that this one's gonna be unilateral. Where with this one over here, with pulmonary edema, you're gonna get increased hypo-resonance notes, mostly in the bases, but it's gonna be bilaterally, okay? And so we see where that is what we're looking for when we think flat or dull. You look at an x-ray and you see increased opaqueness, you think increased density, you think your alveolar disease processes, pneumonia, atelectasis, consolidation, pulmonary edema, pleural effusion, all of those hypo-resonant note. Now, when we come over here and we look at this one, what we see on the one here on your left, on the left side of your screen, is we see a patient with a increased in radiolucency or hyperlucency. In other words, this side right here is more black. And so what we know here is that this is a pneumothorax. It's actually tension pneumothorax because it's pushing everything over, which is why this actually looks more white. So you've got atelectasis and compression over here, hyper-resonant note, air over here. This is going to be hyper. On what side? The patient's right side. So you would have right-sided hyper-resonance, a hyper-resonant note. Now, when we look over here, we see big lungs, hyper-resonance, and overinflation in both lungs. This is emphysema. This will also yield a hyper-resonant note, but what's going to be the difference with this one compared to this one? That's right. If you're thinking right now, oh, this one will be bilateral hyperresonancy versus this one that's just going to be unilateral. So you also have to pay attention, very close attention to the adjectives when you were given information regarding percussion. Is it on both sides? Because that takes me to a completely different set of disease processes than if you tell me it is only a unilateral finding. That takes me to another set of disease processes that are more commonly related to unilateral presentations, okay? So the side of them, bilateral versus unilateral, also very, very important, okay? I've got one more thing for you here, and I want to show you how you use this information in collection with other information, okay? So data points are very, very important. The more data points you have, basically the more pieces of the puzzle you have to create a clearer picture of what's going on with your patient. Okay, now I just have two of them up here, but I want to show you something here. Let's just go with this top one here on your left. Tracheal deviation to the left. Now, a lot of times when you're taking your exams, if you see tracheal deviation, the first thing you think of is pneumothorax. But hold up, because we know things can push or pull the trachea. So tracheal deviation by itself does not say pneumothorax. We have to understand that, because look at this one. Also tracheal deviation to the left. So how do we know what the difference is? Well, if we look over here and we see, oh, wait a second. We've got a hypo-resonant note on the left. That means the trachea is coming to the left and the abnormal finding is on the left. That means the trachea must be being pulled towards it, right? So for here, I'm thinking atelectasis. But when I look over here, I made a mistake, you see? Because tracheal deviation to the left, if you have a hyper-resonant note on the left, wouldn't that push it to the other side? So let me clean this up here real quick. Not to the left. Let's say we had a hyper-resonant note on the right. Now you go, wait a second, the trachea is coming to the left, but there's a hyper-resonant note on the right. This must be a pneumothorax. Why? Because we have hyper-resonance on one side. That's going to push the trachea. That air in the pleural space is pushing the trachea to the left side. I still can't believe I made that mistake. It's okay. We all make them, right? So just go with it. Here we go. Let's look down here now. Now we have bibasilar crackles, and we have hypo-resonance bilaterally. So what are we thinking here? Bibasilar crackles, okay? So fluid maybe in the alveolar units in both bases, and hypo-resonance bilaterally, in even more specific would say bibasilarly. And now you go, okay, this sounds like pulmonary edema, and I'm thinking CHF. Okay, so that's how that works. Now, the bilaterally is a clue. Why wasn't I thinking pneumonia? Well, pneumonia is more commonly a unilateral disease process. Now, I know somebody's in the comments going to say, pneumonia can be bilateral. I know. I'm saying more commonly, you think pneumonia, you think more of a unilateral lung disease. As opposed to pulmonary edema, you don't ever think unilateral. Pulmonary edema, due to congestive heart failure or fluid overload, is going to lead to spilling out of the fluid out of the pulmonary vasculature in both sides of the lungs, leading to a bilateral hyporesonance finding, okay? Now look at this one over here. Bilateral expiratory wheezes. What are we thinking? Oh, maybe asthma, okay? Maybe COPD. We've got wheezes. We know that wheezes cause the result of a narrowed airway lumen, typically related with bronchospasm. Now, this is going to lead to a situation where the patient has a hard time getting that air out of their lungs, which means they are at a high risk of air trapping, leading to hyperinflation, which means more air in the thoracic cavity within the alveolar units. More air leads to hyperresonance, but there's more bilaterally. You see, I'm not thinking pneumothorax now, because why? Pneumothorax is more often a unilateral disease process. Also, with a pneumothorax, we wouldn't have wheezes. And yes, pneumothorax can also occur bilaterally. More often than not, they are a unilateral lung disease. So when I see hyperresonance bilaterally, along with bilateral expiratory wheezes, here I am thinking, is this asthma? Or maybe perhaps COPD, one of the two. But the clues, the adjectives, unilateral versus bilateral, along with hypo or hyperresonance, are the clues that point me to disease states that cause an increase in density versus disease states that cause a situation where we have a loss or a lower amount of density, less density because of more air. Okay, so that's percussion. Again, you got to understand this. I remember when I took my clinical simulation exam, or when I was preparing for it, I was like, what is this percussion all about? And had to go back and learn it, because it's going to be vital for you. It's a part of that detailed content outline. And in your information gathering section, you want to be ready to assess that finding when you ask them to tell you what the percussion note sounds like. Okay, so hey, that's all I got for you. I'm a respiratory coach. Do me a favor, stay here with me right here on YouTube. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. Also, big shout out and big thank you to the entire community. We just recently surpassed 100,000 subscribers. This started back 7 years ago. And here we are now, still cranking out videos, and couldn't have done it without all of you. So thank you all very, very much. Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and then don't forget about respiratorycoach.com. Go check out the TMC, the CSE, and the ACCS boot camps, all there waiting to aid and assist you so you can be the very best RT you want to be. Remember, average is easy. Don't be it.